Hello, folks, live from China. I am the official on a fact finding trip to China to determine what is happening economically and on the electric vehicle front. So many consultants, commentators, market reporters, including from entities like us, talk about China, address what appears to be a macroeconomic slowdown, but we all depend on published data. And one of the things that always has bothered me in particular, and should bother anyone commenting on markets, is how on time and realistic is the data. I think it is fair to say that most indicators globally right now are showing a massive, or at least some slowdown in key economies, such as Germany, China, and including the US. This triggered a desire to come to China to see it from the ground up. What is really happening at the ground level? So I have been traveling from Shanghai, where I landed, to now where I am in Nanjing. And some things haven't come true very clearly. I was in Shanghai at the onset of the epidemic in December 2019. Realistically, the place has not changed massively since 2019 to 2024. It looks a little bit like frozen in space. The traffic in the roads may even be a little bit less than what I think it was in 2019. And as I surveyed and met various business people, including from the Shanghai Futures Exchange, they do say that their economy was heavily affected by the COVID measures, which were very harsh in China. And right now, the various fights between the Western and Eastern leaders on tariffs and other economic measures are also taking a toll on the Chinese economy. People that I have interviewed in various other areas also state that there is emerging unemployment, that there is firing, and people are still unable to buy homes despite the fact that housing has fallen massively. One of the interesting observations to me was that from the Shanghai airport to Shanghai city center, I didn't see a single crane. Not a single new building was being built. And as I travel from Shanghai to Nanjing, which is an hour and 40 minutes on a very fast train that covers over 300 kilometers, there were a few, but very sparse. So the traditional economy, I would say, is flat on its back. So the slowdown, I think, is bigger than what the official data is showing. In my opinion, do not believe anything that says that the Chinese economy is growing at 4.7% for this year. That, I'll be very blunt, that's a lie. It's really not happening. In my opinion, I could even say that some key sectors are contracting very heavily. This has a big impact on traditional fuels such as diesel, but also on materials such as iron ore or rebar or cement, copper, anything that you need to keep a traditional economy going. Another thing that I have focused on massively is the EV penetration. And in a place like Shanghai, I think is at least, and this is conservative, 70% penetration of electric vehicles. Gasoline in Shanghai is dead. There is no growth. There is actually contraction on the consumption of gasoline. And on China as a whole, in the latest figures that were released by the government, over 50% of the cars new car sales were EV. So the penetration is huge. Here in Nanjing, the penetration is not as high as in Shanghai, but it would seem that it's between 30 to 50% penetration of electrical cars. Interestingly, all the smoke spewing cars, which really is a figure of speech, the air from the transportation sector is very clean here, are from Western brands. The Porsches, the BMWs, the Japanese cars. All the new cars on the streets are Chinese, all of them. And they have about 3 different levels. One that is more economical and it costs, say, $10,000 equivalent, to very super high end that are in the $50,000 to $60,000 per car. And they're competing very hard. And in one interview yesterday with a car in a showroom, they were explaining to us that depending on the battery, the range of the car is between 500 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers. So you essentially can cover everywhere that you would need to drive in a couple of days with one charge, even if you drive steadily non-stop. In one of the things they're doing as well is just replacing the battery automatically. The car drives itself into a service center. A machine comes from the bottom, takes out the battery, replaces it with a new charged one, and all it takes you is 3 minutes for the process. No need to wait overnight for your car to slow charge. All these things are resulting in EV penetration across China. They are the leader. We may talk about it in the West, but where the future is happening is here. So what is next? What I see Europe, Canada, the US slapping down the Chinese manufacturers because essentially they are too good and therefore they want to tariff them to death. But as they tariff them and make them uncompetitive, that doesn't make the Western manufacturers competitive. The new technologies are here on batteries, so the West will be struggling to catch up from behind. And as the manufacturers in China do not have access to the Western markets, they will sell more of their cars here. So the penetration will be faster and gasoline consumption will drop even faster. And then that gasoline and diesel will need to be sold into the West, and then the firings of people, instead of being at the car manufacturers, will be at the Western refineries as those locations get affected as the gasoline and diesel from China penetrates Europe. We are going to show you some clips of what happens on the road. There may be a little bit of a voiceover, but essentially what I want to show you in the following clips is how few combustion cars are there on the road, and also a little bit of an interview we had with one of the salesmen in a showroom. But really, the future is here. In Europe is the past. Thank you very much for your attention.